seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Hey, what's up guys? This is Brian at Whisper Status 74. Welcome to the community, welcome to the channel. Today is a very special video. It is the return of the king, the Sony Master Series Z9J, following in the footsteps of the amazing Z9D, Z9F, and Z9G. This is the return to the king of LEDs. Very excited about this panel. It'll be introduced today by Robert Zohn of Value Electronics. Special thank you to Robert and Wendy Zohn again for being so generous with their time and for welcoming me into their location. Please check the description below for all of the information in regards to their store. Without further ado, Robert Zohn and the Sony Z9J Master Series. Alright guys, here we are with Robert Zohn, owner of Value Electronics. And Robert, we are here with the Z9J Master Series LED. This is the king of LEDs, the follow-up to the Z9D, Z9F, and Z9G.
Correct.
Tell me a little bit about your thoughts, your expectations for this LED monster. We have it here at 75 inches.
Thank you very much, Brian. So this is Sony's latest Master Series. It's their flagship 8K LCD LED TV. Sony was very kind to us to include us in the very first allocation, so you'll start seeing this in stores in the next week or two. This is the 75-inch version of the Z9J. It is the Master Series. Sony takes that badge very seriously. Master Series televisions are fully quality controlled at the factory. They're calibrated. They set the white point to their Judd white point offset. So you get these TVs, you take them out of the box, and you will have a very nice experience. They're very, very high-end build quality. This is a beautifully constructed and designed and engineered TV. It's very ruggedly designed. It has a fantastic built-in, I never thought I would say this, audio system built into the TV with up-firing Dolby Atmos speakers built in. It radiates the sound directly from the screen, so when people are speaking, the voices come right out of their mouths, so it images really nicely. You can use all the actuators. It has two subwoofers built in, the up-firing speakers, the center channel, the left and right, all built in. You can use them if you have a surround sound system as your center channel speaker, with all the actuators firing as a center channel. It has regular speaker binding posts in the back to use it as a center channel in a surround sound system. The TV's built-in audio, though, is exceptionally good for television audio. It's a very high lumens TV because it has a lot of backlight LEDs, and they're producing, we're going to be measuring the peak lumens, but this is one of the brighter peak lumens televisions that you'll see. It has excellent deep rich blacks. It has exceptionally good color accuracy, and color saturation is very good on this television as well. Tell me, Brian, if you have some questions in your mind, or I can just keep on rattling on.
Well, Robert, with the Master Series, many of us know that the Z9D, I know that one of your favorite displays,
Yes.
really started it, and for many people, the Z9D is kind of where it ended. Now, I know the Z9F wasn't well received, but very popular now after the fact, but the Z9G, as beautiful as it was, it did include the backlight master drive, was very, very expensive. It was a very niche display. The pricing for these is much more reasonable compared to the $15,000 Z9G. But what do you think so far? Is it comparable from what you've seen to the Z9G, from what we've seen the short amount of time we spent with it?
Thank you. It's actually quite a significant upgrade because what we have is better blacks. And what we have also is the new XR processor. That video processor is world class.
It is no joke, yep.
It is really world class, and it's the biggest upgrade we've seen in many years, if not a decade. And it's been in development for over 3 years. So this XR processor really advanced the picture quality to what we're seeing today. And when you see the 8K resolution with all the detail in the image, it really, with the high peak lumens, the great color saturation, the great resolution, the great video processing, the image is just a pleasure to look at.
Well, the pixel density does lend itself to us being very, very close with the
Yes,
right content.
That's right. That's right. So you can now sit much closer to the TV without seeing any defects and fill a little bit more of your natural field of view to enjoy a much more immersive experience with these gorgeous, beautiful picture quality. All the images are just stunning on this TV.
And I'll always say this too, now that we've been doing these videos and interviews, this display has literally been out of the box for about an hour and a half.
That's right.
So it did take one update, and I know you guys are going to measure the peak lumens this evening.
Yes,
Sony doesn't disclose their Zohn counts.
That's correct.
But the
we'll be counting them.
You'll be counting them. But the Master Series, I think, like you said, the badge is so important, but I think it's so important for the Z9J because the A90J, it'll be going against its own sibling because the A90J is such an amazing panel, which is right over there.
That's right.
But very important display, Robert. Now, I know we've talked about the dual cell, but your hopes for LEDs, and now talk a little bit about, the future for Sony. You think they will stay with the traditional LED, or are they going to go to that micro LED that you spoke about in another interview?
It's very hard to say, what the long-term future will be, but for the short-term future, Sony is committed to LCD LED TVs with full array local dimming, and I guess we'll have to see what happens as they develop their new technologies. I'm on a very prestigious committee consulting to LG,
to Sony, well, and LG as well.
And LG as well, thank you. And so I work closely with the engineers and the product development people on the future developments of television technology. So we'll be closely working with Sony this year on making suggestions for enhancements and the future, and for things that we want to see fixed as well.
And isn't it interesting, Robert, that in order to really achieve that peak brightness, we are getting to where LEDs are that dying breed. And there's only a few panels now with Samsung that actually offer this high peak brightness that OLEDs really can't reach. So those of us like myself that still love LEDs at heart, this is the king, and we are very hopeful. And we will see this go to head in the shootout.
Yes, it will be.
With the QN90A, which will be amazing, or not QN90, I'm sorry, with the Q900A.
Yes.
And then, so that's very, very impressive.
That's correct.
And you did mention that it's a very rugged build quality, full array local dimming.
Yes.
It's going to be a little thicker, but
also,
Robert,
the stand, you can position the stand 3 different ways.
Yep.
It could be in this position right now where it's almost at one with the countertop.
Yep.
You can raise the stand to be about 3.5 inches higher so it can accommodate a center channel, and you can move the feet further in. So if you have a smaller table, countertop, you can have a larger screen TV without buying a new cabinet.
Now we'll show the big build quality at the end and the wrap up. It has that very just substantial premium. And the reason why I asked about the future of LEDs, Robert, is this is a panel that we are going to buy and keep. This is an investment for many years with 8K. But we've talked off camera. We'll interview Robert of his favorite displays of all time, Z9D being one of them.
Yes.
But we're very hopeful for the LED to still be within the future. But I'm very impressed with what we've seen so far. And we also have the X95 here. We're impressed with both of them. But we're honored here because we were the first to actually show the Z9J. Robert's the first in the area, I believe, to have an allocation of them. And when did you say the 85-inch will be available, Robert?
They're shipping the end of this week.
Okay.
So the 85-inch. We're shipping them nationwide, but for me to get them from, they're assembled in Mexico.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So they seem to populate in the West Coast a little bit faster by at least a few days than they do make it to the New York area.
And we do have only 2 sizes available, 75 and 85.
And 85 on the Z9.
And pricing is still being held back on the 85, I believe, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
No, the pricing is announced at $99.99.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So for the Z9D at launch was $9,999.
Yes, that's correct.
At 4K. So
That's
think
correct.
about it. I know we've talked about price many times, but we're talking about an 85-inch 8K panel versus 4K panel at 75 inches many years ago.
That's
so
correct.
the pricing, I know people think it's very expensive. It really isn't crazy for an 8K 85-inch panel.
That's correct. And there is a 2-year interest-free financing available to make it a little bit more easy to afford this TV. And we'll see promotions come out throughout the year on this television as well.
And its late release, is going to affect that as well. But we did unbox the QN900A here as well. Yes. Very long distance between the two. I can't wait to see them go at each other.
Right.
All right, Robert, any closing shots that you'd like to say before we sign off?
Not that I can think of, but I hope to see many of your great followers come into our showroom here and take a look at these world-class TVs next to each other.
Absolutely. And you can find Robert wandering the comments occasionally.
Yes.
And all the information about the store is in the description. Thank you so much for your time, as always, Robert.
Thank you so much. All the best. Thank you.
All right, guys, here we are behind the camera. We're going to take a quick look at the build quality of the Z9J. Kind of panning around, we did talk about the ability to move the stands inside. The panel is very thick, is very premium. The back is very meaty. It has this event horizon, very aggressive look to it. Absolutely love it. They have that style and a lot of cable management, but you also have the up-firing speakers, as Robert mentioned, on the top, and as we go around the other side, being able to see where the HDMI 2.1 ports are also located. We can also see the ability to connect speakers, the post there, which is pretty cool as well. And as we come around the front, now I will tell you that the most staggering aspect of the AK Z9J is that peak brightness. It immediately leaps out at you, especially in a room full of OLEDs and QNEDs, is being able to see a true Master Series LED is something I have been looking forward to for over a year since the Z9G had moved on. Does not disappoint. I do feel the AK with the proper content does add to the detail, and we'll show you later how close you can actually get to the image. Now the challenge that I'm having, and it's my fault, is the area that we're filming in. The building that was across the street is complete, so there's going to be times where you see some dots on the screen. That is the lights across the street. So unfortunately, anything that I filmed that was too dark created almost a blooming effect, which wasn't the panel itself, but was actually the outside and the window behind me. So we are going to follow this up with the 85-inch, and we're going to shoot from the other side and reorganize the room. Go through some of the settings here. You can see how much the panel changes. One thing I've loved with Sony this year is the headroom you have with the settings and how different the presets actually look from one another. And again, with LEDs, being able to really focus on white and not worry about ABL kicking in or the whites appearing gray. We did have the 75-inch. There is an 85-inch beside us, but is sold and is being moved out. There will be another 85-inch in a few days. We will follow up. We're also going to bring a console with us, which will be a Series X. Get some gameplay in on a lot of these panels. The Z9J, again, brightness, crispness. Something an OLED can't really achieve the same way. And seeing the processor in action, seeing the fine details. Now you will see some scenes in here that are dark. Unfortunately, as I was filming them, again, the environment just didn't allow it. And I did not want to put it in a bad light if it wasn't accurately bad. Meaning the black levels were very strong. But it's the detail, it's the color, it's the motion, it's the processing, which is so beautiful. Now what you're seeing is demos from LG Global and from Samsung. I really do feel like Sony this year has really gone above and beyond with the A80J, the A90J, the X95, and the Z9J. The X90 was also very good. They have a tremendous lineup this year. Now, I didn't notice any rainbow effects or anything like that. Now, as I mentioned before, you will see dots on screen, as you see next to that parachute right there. And that's actually a light outside. That's my cat. Again, very, very beautiful. And OLEDs to me never ever appear dim, but it is refreshing when you come across an LED. And the crispness of these images, and again, to watch something for an hour or two and never see ABL and never wonder or worry about that. Screen uniformity was very good. We are going to wait again, like the X95, wait for it to be calibrated. You will see that with Robert and D Nice, who is also calibrating this panel and has been calibrating for them since John had retired. You see the little dot there. That is actually a light out behind me on my left shoulder. And what they'll have for you is the peak brightness and zone count. Then I'll return and be able to give you more information on the 85-inch. Now, many of you are looking for is the Z9J that successor to the Z9G. Though it lacks the backlight master drive, hopefully that cognitive processor can make up for it. I was very impressed with it. I was also very impressed with the X95. And I do feel with LEDs now, we've gotten to the point to where blooming is something that we don't want to see any of, and I completely agree. The challenge is everything in every LED in history is going to bloom off angle. The Z9J is no different, but in the sweet spot in the center of the panel, very, very beautiful. Colors do remain off angle, but you will see blooming off angle of any LED, and that has not changed. You can see the black levels are very strong. Other than that, again, those are lights behind me. What we're going to do in the gallery is turn the chairs around. That way we don't have those windows behind us. Again, these are very tough demos, but the Z9J did very well. Also considering the Z9J was kind of without its updates and was recently out of the box, probably about 35-45 minutes as we started filming here. So all we're doing is kind of a quick demo and impressions. You can see the transition here. That's my camera, and you can see the lights behind me, but you'll see when the flames come out how sharp that is and how strong the flames are. This is a Hisense demo. You guys should look it up. It's very, very difficult on LEDs because what you have is the smoke and the bright highlights, and the algorithm handles them well. There's no artifacting in the cloud or in the smoke. Very beautiful color, very natural color. Always some cheesy guy DJing or playing an instrument with a strong beard. Another hard demo here is the QNED demo with the space shuttle. Again, you'll see my camera transition here, but it does handle very well even the QNED logo at the top. And for those of you that wonder why you don't see movies or see more natural content, is simply because of copyright. But the blacks were very strong, and the contrast ratio Can't wait to hear the numbers on what they are or what the contrast ratio is. But it is a Master Series. It is, as Robert said, they take that badge very, very serious. Now, I will say that even though a lot of us have discussed that 8K isn't really ready for prime time, primarily because there isn't any 8K content, I do feel like even upscaled 4K demos of very high quality do yield a sharper result. You can see finer details that you wouldn't see in 4K. And we'll try to set up the Z9J versus the A90J as well, side by side. But remember, we're looking at an 83-inch versus an 85-inch. A lot of real estate needs to be covered. But for me, on a first look, the vibrancy is there. The HDR pop, the wow is there. We were watching, Robert and Denise and myself were watching Mad Max Fury Road. It is a gorgeous movie, well filmed, well shot film, I should say. It's a difficult movie to make look good, as it does have a grain structure put in. But it was amazing how the HDR specular highlights really, really popped in a way you just can't see with OLEDs. And that's what you're here for. That's what you're here to watch when you get these LEDs, is that specular highlight, that pop, that shine, that punch, the flames, explosions, sparks. You can only see them on an LED that's this bright. And you can see it in the sun. You can see it in the highlights here. Now, in one of these parts, I'm going to get off the tripod and be able to get very close to the image. Here, I'm going to throw it into, I believe I'll throw it into Vivid here, just to see how bright it actually gets. And just for ha-has, just to see how vibrant and crazy it looks. You guys have seen these demos on everything that I show. And it's crazy to see how bright, once you go down to enabling brightness preferred over gradation, it just turns. And these are not accurate settings, obviously. They're not ones you would watch, but it's always fun to see how far you can push it. And look how that just jumps off the screen. Again, seeing this demo on everything from an A90J to A80, C1, CX, you name it. It's beautiful to see on this very, very bright Master Series. Now the bar is being raised by TCL, Hisense, and the like. Can Sony, LG, and Samsung continue to distinguish themselves, not just in name, but in its quality? And the Mad Max was also in Dolby Vision, and even in Dolby Vision Dark, it was very bright. And here we're going to get very close to the screen. We're about 2 inches, 3 inches from the screen at this point. Also, I want to say thank you to Robert and Wendy Zohn of Value Electronics for being so generous with the time, allowing me into their store, welcoming into their home, so to speak, and being able to show you these amazing displays that we would never, ever be able to see otherwise. Look how close. Very, very impressive first look. Again, I will follow up with the 85-inch, which will be calibrated. All right, guys, thank you as always. Thank you for being there, and thank you for your friendship. Have a great night.